Welcome back to the Nuckhead podcast. Hope you guys have been well. It's been a while. I haven't made an episode in, I think, almost 2 months now, and a lot has happened in that time. I haven't even talked about the J.T. Miller trade, at least not on this show. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about, but it's not just going to be me on this episode. As you can tell by the title, I've invited my good old pal and fellow Canucks content creator, DeanerHD, back on the podcast for, I think, the 5th time at this point. And yeah, we're going to talk about everything, including tonight's game against Bo Horvat and the New York Islanders. I'm recording this intro before the game, but Diener and I are going to hop on right after it's finished and discuss everything as much as possible. Like I said, there's a lot to cover, a lot to talk about, so hopefully we get to it all. And for the record, I'm predicting another Canucks win tonight. I think it's going to be 4-3 in overtime, and I think Lekkerimäki is going to get the game winner for the 2nd game in a row. But obviously, I don't care what happens as long as the Canucks get a win. So yeah, let's get into it. All right, Diener, welcome back. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. The sun was shining today. It's good vibes.
It's been a while since we've spoken, but it's also been a while since I've done one of these episodes. So there's a lot I want to catch up on and talk to you about and hear what you're thinking. But we don't have that much time. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to, before we talk about tonight's game, or rather last night's game against the Islanders, I need to ask you, what do you think of the J.T. Miller trade?
We're going all the way back there, right?
I haven't made a podcast since then. I spoke a little bit about it in my videos, and I know you did as well. But maybe it's kind of cool that is, almost 2 months have passed now, and we have a bit more to chew on after we've seen Mancini and Hedl and MP3 Pettersson. So yeah, what are your thoughts? How did that all unfold to you?
Yeah, so I remember the exact moment it went down. I was sitting here in my bedroom, waiting for the Stars game to start up. Saw the trade. I'm not going to lie to you. I was hoping that we were going to get one of Braden Schneider or Lafreniere. So my initial reaction to the trade, I was a little bit underwhelmed with the return, as I'm sure most fans were, to lose just such an impactful player in Miller. I think that's pretty normal. But ever since the 3 players have started playing games, I'm talking about the main guys, Marcus Pettersson, Mancini, and Hedl, or actually no, O'Connor as well, to be fair. I've liked a little bit in both, in all of them. I think that Hedl has had a lot of great speed. Tough to see him go down, but I think that he could be a serviceable 2C guy for the time being. Marcus Pettersson, he's just been a penalty kill goat right now, man. Like, he's just been so great. He's like an octopus out there with his reach. So reliable, and I think he's really been the main factor in getting the Canucks penalty kill to be top 5 in the NHL. So I think that's been a big plus. Then you have O'Connor. I like his speed. He's maybe a little bit inconsistent, but for a 3rd, 4th line guy, not much else you could really ask for. And then Mancini, a very nice surprise. Honestly, I've liked what I've seen from him. I think he can be potentially a top 4 guy down the road. He's only 22 years old, a late bloomer, didn't get drafted till he was 20, and he seems really confident with the puck, poised. I love the physicality. He's a big body, so no problems there with Mancini. I honestly think that, a lot of people said that we got fleeced when the trade went down, but I don't like to see it that way. We really upgraded our defense, and I think that the forwards, we can manage that later on. So I'm happy with it.
Like you already said, when the trade went down, my first thought was, because I heard Hedl was going to be a potential return, and I kept thinking in my head, okay, well, if Hedl's the forward coming back, then I was imagining it would be Schneider or maybe just a more prominent defender coming back as part of the package. So when I saw Hedl plus a guy I've never heard of, nothing against Hedl, but it's, like you said, it's J.T. Miller, I was a bit let down. But yeah, once they flipped that 1st overall pick for Marcus Pettersson, I kind of think they did the best they could. Like, I honestly don't know what they could have done better, to be honest.
Right.
I was saying this to a friend earlier today. Like, it was almost like they took Miller's value and his impact and didn't replace it in one position, but rather spread it throughout the lineup,
Right. Totally. Yeah. I think there was a need to do something to the back end. And, the Canucks defensively at the start of the season were struggling, right? Especially with Hughes and Hronek out. We didn't have much depth back there. And now it seems like we have one of the deepest blue lines in the league with a couple of other nice surprises in Elias Pettersson and Willander to come up soon, I'm sure, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited about DPD and Willander. I keep thinking about the start of next season, not to jump too far ahead, but yeah, looking at the defense, I'm happy with the D core going into it. Even the forward core. I know that's not many people would agree with me there, but we're looking at a team that really struggled offensively, mainly because of Miller's struggles, but obviously Pettersson's struggles. And so, assuming Pettersson snaps back to form, which I don't think is that big of an assumption to make. I know that some people say, oh, that's a big if, but I don't know. I think we've seen this from him before, just on a smaller scale. And if Pettersson snaps back to form, regardless of any free agent signings we make, I honestly think the team's a good team still. I really do.
No, totally.
Where are you at with that? Are the Vancouver Canucks good in your eyes?
Yeah, you know what? I think that there's a lot to like from the team. I don't know if you saw, Quinn Hughes had an interview post-game against the Devils where he said he liked what he was seeing going forward, even if they don't make the playoffs this year, just the buy-in and the want. He said he likes what he sees. So that was definitely encouraging. And, not to sound biased here, but I do think that we have a top 5, if maybe even a top 3 blue line core going forward.
Yeah.
That might be a hot take, but I honestly believe that. And, when you have a guy like Demko back there, it just provides so much stability and confidence from the players that play in front of him, right? And we saw that tonight against the Islanders. We're going to get into that, but the forwards are one thing. They had a bit of a cold streak for a little bit there when Hughes was out, but that's to be expected. I mean, stuff was still really fresh from the trade front, and players still getting used to playing with one another. And ever since Pettersson went on his streak there for a little bit before he got injured, I think the Canucks goal scoring woes have kind of gone away. Hoaglander's found his game. Besser as well has turned up. I think for me, the main thing is just consistency. You want to see everyone going at the same time. I feel like some guys are hot when others are cold, and you can never really find that perfect balance where everyone's going. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of finding that consistency, and I'm confident that it'll come at some point. So I do think the Vancouver Canucks are still a good team. They can still sneak into the playoffs, and going forward, I'm sure they're going to be even better next year.
What do you think of the Lankinen deal?
I think it had to be done. Obviously it's a lot to dish out. Was it 4.5 million?
Yep, for
I think it was
5, right? 5 years?
For 5 years, yeah. So, it's a small sample size for sure, but he definitely earned that contract. I've loved Lankinen, and without him this year, who knows where we are in the standings. So I think you had to do it, especially with Demko's injury concerns, right? He comes back and he goes back onto the IR a couple times this season. And, when he is healthy, it feels like a different team, and there's a different level of confidence as well. But Lankinen, he's still a very solid goaltender, and I'm not too upset at it. I think it's a fair market value deal. Gives you another sense of stability and security there back in goal. So I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, the salary cap is going up, and I don't think that contract will look as bad. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I mean, it's hard to swallow for some people because, we already have Demko. Why'd we do that?
Right.
But, the criticism I hear so often when it comes to Demko is overusing him, and when you stumble across a goalie like Kevin Lankinen, who just carried the team on his shoulders, the team that was Demko-less, Hughes-less at points, Pettersson-less in some ways, Miller-less, Besser-less, throughout this whole chaotic season that's just been bad luck after bad luck. Lankinen has just been so good. And I just think, again, sneaking into the playoffs this year or the start of next year or both, having that 1-2 punch, like you said, Demko and Lankinen, right, with that D-core. I agree. I think whether or not it's a legitimate top 3 in the whole league D-core, the fact that you can even make that argument, I think you could. I think it's no further down the list than 10. And I think it's probably closer in the middle there. I think it's probably around top 5. And we also don't even know what Willander's going to add to it. What like that dynamic is such an exciting thing because I see those stats where you look at Hughes when Hughes is on the ice, the Canucks are an insanely better team than when he's not, right? And Willander's not Hughes, but what they both provide is incredible offensive awareness and puck moving capabilities. And if you get Willander on that third pair, maybe working his way up to the second pair at some point, or maybe even the first pair, I don't know.
We'll see.
I just get so excited about like that dynamic element that he could bring.
I know, yeah. And going back to what you said about the goaltending tandem, I think that teams have shifted now to this 1A, 1B anyway. So that's one of the main reasons why I don't have that big of a problem with it. And you have guys like Jeremy Swayman who on their own are earning upwards of $8 million, right? Yeah. So you look at it that way, it's really not that big of a hit. We have Demko for another year. Depending on how he plays next year will determine his value, I'm sure. It's definitely not up there at 8 right now with the injuries. But I'm sure he's going to want to prove himself next year, contract year, big year for him. I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, things are looking pretty good from the back out. And that's how most championship teams are built anyways, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And if, again, it's, it might, I don't know if it's a big if, but yeah, Pettersson coming back and really starting to do what he does.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
Great. But also, I just want to say not to get too into this, but what you just said about Demko's contract coming up, let's just for a second imagine that this is the year he was due a contract. That is a pretty complicated deal, I imagine, to figure out, because you could argue that his absence this year, although Lankinen's played fantastic, played a part in the Canucks' issues. If you're his agent, you'd definitely try to argue that.
Right.
And you'd point back to the Vezina caliber season he had last year and just, all the greatness we've seen from him over the years. But then you think, okay, well, we have Lankinen and we've seen what this team can do with him as the starter. But I wonder what that deal would look like. It's kind of interesting because you're right. I don't think you couldn't say $8 million, but also I kind of think you could. And I think another team would be happy to give him $8 million.
Yeah, totally. I think he likes it here. All his friends are here. I think it would be a situation where he'd want to do a prove me, because I doubt many teams, I'm sure many teams would love to have him on their roster, but I doubt that many teams would actually want to commit to him long-term, given his track record. So I think that for him, just to be able to get a full season under his belt where he doesn't have an injury, maybe he doesn't play that big of a share of games, splitting it with Lankinen next year, that would provide him maybe like a sense of credibility that he actually can get through a season and can lead a team to a playoff run and something beyond that, right? So that's the angle that I look at it from. He is probably, I think he's 28 years old, probably wanting a long-term deal at some point, but is now the right time to do it? I don't know.
I mean, that, because I think he'll either be in his 30th year or 31st year when that contract is up. And that is interesting because it's weird. Like, he doesn't want to look back on his career and see that his injuries just came at the worst possible time, where he was one of the best goalies in the league for a certain amount of seasons in a row and never was able to cash in on it, Right. Like that would just suck. So if I wonder what the prove me deal would be, 3 years, $7 million or something, or just to avoid him going to free agency. Because I do still think, I know what you mentioned, like a team might not want to take that gamble on him long term, but with the cap going up and maybe there's a win now team. I don't know. Just there could be
the Oilers,
dude. Yeah, I mean the Oilers. Like there's a couple teams that are always in contention, or not always, but lately have been in contention for the cup, like the Avalanche. They got Blackwood now, but you never know. I don't know. It's possible. But yeah, like you said right off the bat, before I got in all this, you said we can worry about that another day.
Exactly.
Yeah. What else is there? You said you like the play of DPD. I think he's been such a bright spot. He's becoming one of my favorite players.
No, I know.
He's fantastic.
He was a nice surprise. Ever since he came into the lineup, I think he came into the lineup before the Marcus Pettersson deal, if I'm not mistaken. So even then I was like, man, like he's in here. I think the decore's fixed. As long as Pettersson and Miller can become friends, like sure we'll be all right. But they doubled down on the defensive depth, which I'm not too mad at. I mean, it's made our defense just absolutely stacked now. A good mix of players that can play in their own end and offensive talented defensemen and players that are still coming up too. I mean, we haven't even mentioned Kudryavtsev and Sawyer Mignot as well, right? So,
yeah.
right, like it's a situation where you had Noah Juleson and DeanerHD playing in your top four earlier on in the season. I don't know how we got to that point in the first place, but now you just have almost too many defensemen where it seems like some of them could even be expendable. I don't want to get rid of them, but you're in that position where you have almost too many.
Yeah, I mean, that right side is going to be fought over between Willander and Mancini until Myers is retired, because I imagine he'll be here. I mean, Myers has had an amazing season.
Oh, he's been great. Yeah, he's been a rock.
I'm in no rush to get rid of him. So yeah, like once Myers ages out, whatever happens with him, that right side, until then, that right side's going to be fought over. I think that's going to be create a good amount of competition between those two.
And that's a weird thing too, because right side defensemen are so hard to come across, very scarce on the market, right? So the fact that we have Hronek, Myers, Willander, who's the other one there? Mancini, that's right. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to me. And the fact that 3 of the 4 of them are in their 20s still, it's a very good problem to have. So I don't know how we ended up in that position. I guess when you give up a top end forward like Miller, you're gonna reallocate that value somewhere else, and we put it all towards the defense. So it's just a way that you look at it. It could be a good thing for some people. It could be a thing where maybe you want to distribute the wealth a little bit more. Yeah.
Also, I can confirm that DPD joined the team before Marcus Pettersson, because I have a string of videos titled "Do Not Trade J.T. Miller," and then the next one was titled "The Canucks Have Another Elias Pettersson," and then the next video was titled "They Traded J.T. Miller."
Okay, there we go. Yeah, that'll
two Elias Petterssons was too much for Miller. Once they called DPD up, he's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious I guess the last question before we get into the game tonight, and this might be a good segue, is how do you feel about Lekkerimäki and what he's been bringing to the team?
Oh man, I almost forgot. You know what? The kid, he kind of oozes a little bit of confidence. It's like a quiet confidence, though. I think that it's been, he's really cool, composed, and I think that with every game that he's played, he's looked a lot more comfortable in the league. I think that earlier on in the season, you could see that the physicality was definitely a jump for him, and he is a little bit of an undersized guy. I talked about how I think he still needs to put up about 15 or so pounds. Once that happens, I think that the league is going to be in for something really special there with Lekkerimäki because of his skill set. So it's just a matter of making sure that he can get the puck and be in positions where he can get that shot off, right?
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, people are on him quick, and it's a little bit easier to knock him off the puck. But man, when he is able to release it, it's definitely a scary sight for other teams. And you saw that the shootout against Markstrom the other day. It just looked so crisp, man. He completely fooled him, right?
That was very impressive.
I know, right? So I was very happy about that. You saw the stick twirl as well, just another little bit of swagger there, right? So I've loved Lekkerimäki. I think the one thing for me is I'd like to see him in a permanent top 6 role, because I just think he does better in situations where he isn't matched up against the top, like, bottom 6 forwards on the other teams, where it's a lot more physical of a game. I'd like to see him play against the other top talent on the other teams, where it's more of a skilled matchup, and he can maybe use his skill set a little bit better there. So that's what I like to see, but we'll see what Taka decides to do.
Yeah, I've noticed, at least it appears this way, that like puck gets dumped in deep down in the corner, and he's a bit hesitant to go in there and risk getting hit or crushed, which, I mean, I understand. I would just let that happen. Right. I would avoid that at all costs, is what I mean. But I don't know if it's that. He also could just be kind of reading the play differently than I'm used to seeing from the other forecheckers on the team. But yeah, I mean, with time, he'll start figuring that out. He'll win those puck battles. I've already noticed in the past couple of games, he's making pretty, like, not necessarily out-muscling players. I mean, definitely not out-muscling players, but he's positioning the puck around his body in ways that make it hard to get it off of him. And that actually, the video I'm going to be putting out tomorrow or today later, I talk about, and I'm sure you saw this, I'm trying to look here. What goal was it? The opening goal against, was it New Jersey? No.
The Islanders. Right?
Yeah. No.
Or no.
Let me just
the Devils.
Yeah, I think it was the Devils. I think who did they play right before? When did Joshua open the scoring? Oh, the Rangers. The Rangers.
Oh, the Rangers. That's right. Yeah.
Hughes deked the shit out of Rempe. On that play, it was Lekkerimäki that made a nice. I don't even know what to call it. He protected the puck really well, and
that's right. No, he
3-on-2 entered the zone, made a nice pass to Joshua, and that led to the goal.
Yeah, no, he held on I remember exactly the play you're referring to. He held onto the puck for just an extra second longer to make that heads-up play. Yeah, and that's another thing I forgot to comment on, is I think that we saw it on the power play a couple times when he was put up there in the past couple of games. You know, he's really good at poised decision making. You know, I think that he'll get even better the more games that he plays at this level, right? But just being able to have that vision to make those seeing eye passes is definitely a big plus for him.
Totally. And the dream is, at least, well, no, not even just for me. Everybody's dream is just get him and Pettersson cooking. Let's get like, you know, Sedin twins number 2. I mean, that's going to be difficult, but yeah, those guys, I just keep thinking about how Pettersson's so good at passing pucks to open space, creating space, slowing the game down when he's really playing as well as he, as well as I know he can, and we all know he can. That's his specialty. And you get a guy like Lekkerimäki or I still don't know if it's Lekkerimäki or Lekkerimäki, but get a guy like that who's good at finding getting in the open space. Kind of like Kuzmenko was for that brief period of time.
Yeah, I mean, he put up 39 goals that year, right? And Lekkerimäki, I mean, shooting is all the kid knows, you know. Like, he's right. So it's a perfect fit, right? So I would love to see that as well.
Yeah, I'd love it if his job, every time he hopped over the boards, the coach just yelled, "Get open. Don't worry about anything. Just get open." And he's on a line with someone like Pettersson who will find him, you know?
Right. Well, it's encouraging. I mean, in the AHL, he has one of the top shots per game. I don't know if that's Manny Malhotra just telling him just to rip it, but you know, there's a lot of confidence there, and I'd love to see him just continue to rip it, even at the NHL. I'm okay with him taking shots.
Yeah. Well, me too. Okay, let's talk a bit about tonight's game. What'd you see? What'd you like?
You know what, man? For the first time in a long time, I could watch a third period where I wasn't just stressed out of my mind, you know, and I was a little bit worried in the first and second today because I was concerned that the Canucks were going to play the same style that they've been playing for the entire road trip and even a little bit before that, where you never really know what's going to happen with the lead.
I know.
And
it's been so frustrating.
It's just been, I've been losing my mind. I've been trying to stay composed in my videos to, you know, not just completely lash out at the team, right? Because, you know, a couple of times they've gotten it done. And today there were even a couple of question marks when the Islanders went up 2-1 in the second period there. I was so happy to see them finally break through on a strong goaltender like Sorokin, especially after the first period as well, where Demko just kept them in it, man. Two great saves on Bo Horvat on, you know, basically 2 net front 2-on-1s there, right? So not much more you could ask from him there in the first period. He was the most impactful player on the ice. Second period, the Canucks definitely stepped it up. I love the Sherwood goal, just getting it from the net there. Hughes shots are always dangerous. They always seem to get through. I don't know how he does it, right? It seems like he's the only guy that can consistently get shots through past everyone. And it's just a very nice gift that we have there.
Oh, absolutely. Despite, like, he, on top of that, he's the one guy they say don't let his shot get through, and he's still finding a way. It's crazy.
I don't know how he does it. He's a wizard. But then, you know, it was a little bit of I don't know how to say it, but he did a good thing and then he did a bad thing because he gave away the puck there on that power play. I think it was like a no look to Lekkerimäki, 2-on-1 with Cizikas, and it was a nice move. Give credit to Casey Cizikas, but you'd like to see the Canucks do a little bit better against a 31st ranked Islanders penalty kill, right? So that was a little bit brutal to watch. And then the 4-on-4 goal, we were a little bit stagnant in our own zone. So tough one to give up there as well. But after that, it was only good things. 4 unanswered goals. The third period, they actually locked it down. And the one thing I liked about the third period the best was the fact that the Canucks weren't just letting the Islanders come towards them. They were actually playing in their zone, making it difficult for them to actually come in and build some momentum. We did give them a couple chances there with a couple of penalties that we took, just opening the door ever so slightly. But our penalty kill is so strong, and with Demko in there, I wasn't that worried. So it was a good win. Aatu Ratu goal on his former club. I think we won the trade there.
Yeah, I think so.
But it was a good showing from the boys. We live to see another day.
Derek Forbort with the game-winning goal.
That's right. I forgot about that. Known sniper Derek Forbort, right?
I wonder if someone somewhere made a bunch of money on a bet like that. Who would have thought?
I wouldn't have the balls to do something like that, but if someone does, then credit to you. You deserve every penny that you earned there on that bet.
Yeah, and then, like you said, the third period, just able the absolute dread we felt for the past few games with the blown leads and all that.
Oh my gosh!
That Bluger goal that came 65 seconds in, just completely. I exhaled. I was smiling again, not sweat. Like, you don't want to be sweating with a lead. You sweat when it's tied. You sweat when you're down. But going into the third period, it's not a done deal. But going into the third period up 3-2, you shouldn't be sweating. You should be focused as a fan. Of course, I'm talking
right.
But also the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they locked it down tonight, and I'm happy with it. I predicted a 4-3 overtime win before I hit record on this earlier before the game, and that Lekkerimäki would get the game-winning goal in overtime. But I'm happier with this. Less stress.
Yeah. I think it was nice to see Ratu get on the board there, called up halfway through the road trip, and he looked visibly very happy after scoring that one. Even after he scored, he had a jump in his step for the rest of this game. So it was nice to see that. And, the only reason why we get so worried that the Canucks, even with the lead, are going to give it up is because it just always happens. It's so brutal. And that Rangers game was probably the most upset that I've been all season long. But it was nice to see them turn the page on it very quickly. 2 wins back to back now. And, the team is still in the hunt.
Yeah. And after last season, where the Canucks were the best team in the league at locking down leads going into the third period.
That's another thing.
It's actually really strange, like on paper, this team, like I was, saying earlier, I really believe this team has the makeup of a championship team at some point. I really do. I think they're building towards it and they're going in the right direction. But when you look at these 2 last seasons, although I know this one's been completely thrown off course by injuries and all the drama and everything, but some of those stats, I don't know if you can chalk those up to injury issues, like, because game 1, everyone except Demko and I guess Joshua was in the lineup, and they opened it with a terrible blown lead against the Flames, which is something they only did once the year before. I think it maybe they one regulation blown lead and then maybe a couple overtime ones. But regardless, something that was so rare the year prior. It's just I don't understand it. It's weird, and it's kind of like, what is the real Canucks? I hope
maybe it just. Oh, sorry, you go.
No, go on.
I don't know. Maybe it just set the tone for the entire season. I guess maybe that's just the way it is. Last year we set the tone with a very good win against the Oilers.
Yep.
This year it was a game where it felt like there was a lot of promise, and then it just came crashing down, which I feel like has been a common theme for a ton of these games this season, right? So maybe that's it, but I don't know, man. It's just brutal either way.
Yeah, totally. I guess, my final question, this is just going to be a quick episode, but my final question is, do you think they're going to make the playoffs? Like, where are you at with this? Where's your hope at percentage-wise?
Okay. Well, my delusion is definitely going to play a little bit of a factor, as I'm sure it will for most Canucks fans, right? So, you look at the standings right now, they're 3 points out of it with a game in hand on the St. Louis Blues. The Wild are crawling towards a playoff spot right now. I think they're 5 points up on us, but they have a couple of key players out. The Flames are right behind us. They're coming in hot. They have a couple of games in hand. There's a ton of moving parts to it. So I think that it's honestly just a bit of a lottery at this point, you know? Someone's going to get it, one of these teams. And, you know, what's to think it's not going to be us, right? So hopefully they can catch fire at the right time. They've won 2 back-to-back here. This is a very strong a very strong win against a desperate team.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is a tough schedule. I mean, I'll give the Canucks that. So if they don't manage to get into the playoffs, then I'll hand them a little bit of credit there. I mean, at least they battled, and the Blues have a very easy schedule on the other hand, which is a bit annoying, right? So we'll see. I think anything can happen. Right now, I think it's a bit of a dice roll. So I'm 50-50. I don't know. What about you?
Well, I mean, the easy schedule. I mean, I keep hearing that with the Blues. I hope that gets to them. I hope they're in the locker room, you know, unable to avoid hearing that on social media. Easy schedule. So then they get all psyched out, you know, lose a couple games to some dud teams. I have the list here. They're playing against the Predators, Avalanche, Red Wings. 2 games against the Avalanche. Red Wings, Penguins, Jets, Oilers, Kraken, and Utah. And the only teams. Well, they have a losing record on the season against half of these teams, actually. Utah, they're 1-2. Oilers, they're 0-1-1. Jets, they're 1-1-1. Penguins, they're 0-1. Avalanche, they're 1-1. I mean, Predators, I imagine they'll win. Red Wings, I don't know. The Red Wings are desperate too. Avalanche, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's as much of a toss-up, to be honest. Sorry. I meant to say, I don't know if it's as much of a done deal as a lot of people are saying. I think it is more of a toss-up, like you were saying.
Yeah, I think the Avalanche are a little bit of an overrated team, honestly, this year. And the Oilers game, I mean, I'll become the biggest Oilers fan if I have to for that night, right? So
me too, man.
Whatever prevents them from getting those 2 points. And I'm sure that'll be the one game where the Oilers just lay an egg, right? But we'll see what happens. Yeah, definitely getting deja vu from 2019. But I do think that the Wild as well are another team to keep really close tabs on. If you saw their schedule, they have a stretch where they have a back-to-back. They play Calgary and then they play us on the second half of a back-to-back in about 6 or 7 games here. They're only 5 points above us right now without Kaprizov, without Joel Eriksson, without Brodin. And I don't know, they've been struggling. So they have an upper hand, obviously, and slightly easier schedule than us, but you never know, man. They could fall out as easy as us getting in, right? So we'll see what happens.
I was actually going to say that as well. Just thinking about how we're so focused on the Blues, but yeah, you're right. Maybe it's not just one spot available. That's the other thing. Like, I'm feeling good. You asked me what I'm like. I understand the logical, mathematical part of my brain gets that right now as it is. It's not really in the hands of the Canucks. We do need St. Louis to lose at least one to bring it even, but ideally all of them. However, I don't know. I mean, with Pettersson and Höglander, I don't know how long they're out. We still don't really know how long Heedle's out, unless I missed some news on that. I know it doesn't look good based on his history, but and then with Willander coming up, you know, I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid, but who knows, you know? So I've got a lot to cling on to. You know, it's not over till it's over.
No, and you know what? If anything, it's made for some really intense games. It's made for some games that have felt like playoff games. So I guess there's that. I've talked about that for the past couple of weeks here. You know, aging back to the Calgary game where we won that one in a shootout. You know, that was just such a fun game to watch, and you know, I love that more than anything. You know, just that intense feeling in the third period where both teams need it, and we're going to be getting a lot more of that in the final 10 games of the season. So I look forward to it.
Absolutely, and you know what? That's a good point. Like, not to assume anything here, but if they don't make it, this is a little moment where it's like, hey, you didn't get the playoffs, but you got this. You got really tight games that you got. I'm yelling at the TV now. I'm acting like it's playoffs. I mean, it feels that way.
Exactly.
And I will just say, if they do squeak in that second wild card spot and go up against the Jets first round, if I heard that after last season, I would have, you know, big gulp. I'm like, like possibly, like that's going to be hard. And I know, you know, there's reason for me to still feel that way. But I'm actually not really scared of the Jets.
No,
I don't know why.
You know what? the best part about being the 8th seed in the playoffs is you have absolutely no pressure going into it. Look at the Jets, man. Hellebuck is going to be clutching his goal stick because of his past couple playoff performances. 2-10 in the past 2 years, by the way, right? So I don't know. We've beaten the Jets this year. If we can come in and string a couple wins together, pull a 2023 Florida Panthers run, anything can happen. And all you got to do is just get to the dance, and 4 wins is all you need to win it, right? So it can happen. So
yeah, man.
We'll see.
I believe.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, I got my tinfoil hat on.
No, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. I believe. I truly believe. Until I can't. Until I physically cannot believe anymore, I'm going to believe.
Exactly, right? So it's going to be fun, man.
All right, well, let's end it here. It's a quick one. We'll talk again soon. Thanks again for doing this, and sorry, everybody, for not doing a podcast for 2 months. I don't have a singular reason, but with the Four Nations face-off going on, I was doing a lot of video making. I'm sure you were as well. So juggling the podcast with this kind of just became overwhelming, and I had to prioritize one thing over the other. But yeah, cool.
All right,
man. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, for sure, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.